Good morning, guys. How you doing? How do I view the video from my laptop? You should just be able to click on the link on the community page, Glider. What's up, guys? It's time for Sunday services. Let's go. So this is the cooking TA? Yes. It's the pan and handle formation. Awesome, Segan. Glad to have you, man. Feel good. Cringing at the Wu-Tang tinfoil. Yeah, I just ignore it at this point. There's some sweaters and stuff. Thank you for letting me in, but I didn't get a bulletin. What? I posted it on Twitter, on the YouTube community tab, and in the Discord. That's awesome, Glider. No breakfast. Have you seen or heard of the recent Patrick Boyle video on the SEC report? Thoughts? I haven't. I don't know who Patrick Boyle is. I probably don't care about his opinion. There's a YouTube community tab? Yeah, there is for a name. The cult bulletin board. I've been thinking of a not a cult song all weekend. No, you can't say you're in a cult here because we're not in a cult. Patrick Boyle is in the Wu-Tang Clan. Patrick Boyle doesn't sound like a Wu-Tang Clan member. He could be, but I thought they had names like Rizzo and I don't know. I don't listen to Wu-Tang Clan. So you were right about the short volume on Friday. I think it was above 70%. Ha. Yeah, I mean, I figured. I could check even. Where is it? Yeah, 72%. So it represents a 22% net short carryover. Thoughts on DWAC having an option chain on Monday? The IV is going to be astronomical. And I still think it's a pump and dump. Also, legal issues. I mean, if you want to buy puts, but risky, probably not worth it. There's always money to be made somewhere. Some random SPAC running 800% is just like not a big deal. I looked up TA The Financial Markets by John Murphy. So worth it. Thank you for the recommendation. You're welcome, dude. It's a good place to start. Um, a bit of a warning. It's old. It was written in different market conditions than we experience today. Uh, but it's a good place to start your knowledge of technical analysis. And for that, I do recommend it because it's a very good introduction and uh, kind of like starting off point. Launch pad. There we go. So Monday, bullish reversal into the long-term trend. Maybe. We have some room to trade to the downside here. We still don't have a lot of volume on the EMA 60. Or the EMA 160. This is the EMA 160, this yellow line. The Bollingers managed to hold within the Keltner channel, which is interesting, actually. So BBKC is still firing, although this indicator for BBKC, maybe not the best, but definitely the easiest to read. I want to buy puts. Are you concerned about cringy posts from Super Stonk et al. Driving off institutional boomers from investing in GME? Institutions and boomers. Yeah, it concerns me a lot. It's one of the reasons that I do the stream and I post the things I post. Because I think that, you know, a logical approach to this is perfectly adequate without all the hype and nonsense. I like how the book references newspapers for getting stock updates. Did you get to the part where you draw your own charts yet? How's your SHIB? I don't have any. Yeah, WeBull's never given me any Shiba coin. I think I have to like post a link in my YouTube description to get people to like start a crypto account on the WeBull account I already referred them to, and I could just give a shit less. I have Doge. It's doing better. Or was. I don't know. I don't ever check it. You may want to reach out to KPAC Twitter. He's a hedgy technical trader who's bullish on GME AMC. Here's my problem. Institutional investors, right? First of all, no hedge fund should ever be on Twitter. That means they're not doing their job well. Or they're not trading successfully. So I'd be very suspicious of anybody promoting anything on fucking Twitter. And I don't really care about other social media's viewpoints on GameStop, like other influencers or, you know, Twitter people or Twitter space people. As far as I'm concerned, and I know this is a little tinfoily, they're all compromised in one way or another. Either their agenda or, you know, their bullishness on GameStop is questionable. Or they're also into AMC, you know, which the incentive to be there is monetary. Because anybody who knows shit about trading would not be involved with that stock at all, besides to sell covered calls on it. He's anonymized his identity. Yeah, that's just to like it's just marketing, right? Do you think there's a play to be made for an AMD in the coming week? I'm watching it. Right now it looks okay. It'll depend on their earnings. Intel did not have good earnings, so if AMD raises their forward looking prospectus in this earnings as well, they did this the last time. it could really take off. You think the DWAC pump and dump? No, it seems like a very controlled pump and dump in order to get insiders out. I would want to see the 13 Fs for who bought in shortly before the news started circulating. Not a shill. I don't think Trade Spotting's a shill, but I think he's a YouTuber, first and foremost. I think my incentive for being here is more virtuous in a way than like guys like Trade Spotting. I do admit is much better than the rest, but all of them YouTubers first and foremost, right? They're about advertising their platform and their thing, and I'm about the stock, and I try to keep it that way. And I have, I think, successfully so far. Not that I fault anybody for that. Like, if you want to be an investing YouTuber and that's your thing, then do that by all means. And it's like, it's not something I'm disinterested in becoming, but I feel like that in order to maintain a level of trustworthiness, I have to avoid that and promoting that. I did advertise beefing GME, but that's different. I feel like the maturity level of Superstock is well below mine, and I'm very immature. My biggest problem with Superstock is probably the anti-intellectual sentiment that has been bred over several months, right? Like, this all started off being based on data and facts, and it's become about speculation and emotion, and that sentiment that's there is negative to what's really going on here. Yeah, I mean, I avoid that, and I know there's way more money to be made being on top of things like AMC and DWAC, and I could grow the channel exponentially following those routes, and I choose not to for a reason, right? It's not that I can't do that. I could. If I chose to invest my time into doing what the other streamers do, I could do it as probably as well, maybe better in a lot of cases. That's just not what I want from this channel or why I started doing this. Live and fired from a rare Sunday workday. Huh. Weird. Well, welcome. Glad to have you here. Lots on puts on AMC. I made good money off last week's. It depends. If GameStop runs Tuesday, AMC likely will as well. So it could be risky in the early part of the week. Options are supposed to be profitable. They can be. Kirk's pulling the long con. No. There will be no Gherkin brand pickles. Or Pickle Financial pickles released to my unsuspecting audience. Your stance on CS DRS hasn't changed, has it? It's always been the same. I get a lot more shit for it now, but I still don't care. Just working on Sunday, which is rare. Oh, okay. Yeah, your previous statement was slightly confusing. Awesome, Trey, the son of Chad. That's why I'll be unsubscribing post MOAS. Channel needs more AMC, let's be honest. I thought about that when I first started the channel. I thought, like, I'll promote both, right? To get the viewership and then slowly shift to just being GME only. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I tried in the early days, if you guys remember, to be like not overly negative about AMC. And I was able to keep that up for maybe like 3 to 5 days, like the first 3 to 5 streams. I was like, oh, I really don't think it's like the play, but, and then it just went into like rants about Adam Aaron being a fat slug. So I gave it a shot. I gave it an honest chance. Do you believe in the Wu-Tang theory? No, because I'm not retarded. Also, doesn't matter. So the coming week, would you expect to bounce off that lower wedge support? I don't know what to expect for the next 2 days, Snickers. We'll either drop down tomorrow before bouncing Tuesday. Theoretically, we've already bounced off of this. And so could continue to move to the upside. I think even in after hours, we started moving up. I think, I'm not sure, but I think we're up like $1.19 in after hours. I'll have to look. So we may already, like, they may start covering gamma exposure right away. There is a significant amount of gamma exposure this week, which is interesting. I still don't think the FTDs are high enough to make a significant difference, though. So it could be just a nothing week. It could be like a Tuesday spike kind of week. For all I know, maybe they managed to kick the can and try to fuck up the time cycle. It's not something they haven't done before. I don't know how they would do that. Like, I don't know how they would kick forward those FTDs again and like cover them this week instead. There was some pretty interesting open interest, but it remains because most of it's further out. There's only a couple million like on the ramp this week. But I mean, obviously I'm still looking to the 26th through the 28th to continue the rest of this. I do suspect though that we could follow last September's pattern, which just means down until the ETF and options expiration settlement windows occur. Trading, do I need 25K total in my account, even if it's all invested? Yeah, balance. Yeah, you just need 25K balance. So it's good to have like a little padding on that in case you suffer any losses. And if you fall below, they'll give you a warning, and you'll have T+2 to settle up and clear the pattern day traders. Cheers, Bradstock. Thank you. Do you think there will be a lowered IV these coming weeks if we get no action before November? Yeah, significantly. Smaller community makes it better anyway. Let us focus on GME specific DD. It does in some ways, but in other ways it doesn't give us what something that I did want for the channel, which was exposure. But either way, any thoughts on the merger for the REITs, Reality Income, and VREITs? No, there'll be arbitrage between the two. Likely, whatever's one's valued lower will move up. Whatever one's higher will move down. That's usually how mergers work. If I thought months ago that this can kicking would continue when it started to go past expectations, I stepped away. Has anything new come to light? Yeah, I mean, did you ABN, did you watch are you like aware of the future cycle anomalies and how these cycles play out? If you want, check out the playlist I have for those over in the playlists. It's just called Future Cycle Anomalies, I think. So I think we have a better understanding now of how they kick the can and why. Probably a better understanding of where the actual short position is and the breadth of it. Any plays you want to talk about today besides GME? Yeah, we will be focusing more on other things in the coming weeks if the rest of this cycle peters out as expected. I'll be there's some plays that I'm working on. I still have to do DD and shit on today. But I'll be posting those in Pickles Picks tonight. And I don't think I need to wait for any ones for what's been happening lately is the timing of the Chinese market and our market, and with the things going on with Evergrande is the last few weeks have been really hit or miss. And honestly, if I wasn't, writing these things for you guys every week, I just wouldn't be involved in the market at all right now. Like I'd hold my long-term stuff and sell covered calls, but I wouldn't be trading actively, just due to the choppiness of the market in general. Like I'd be on vacation or something. But since I am, I'm kind of forced to look into plays that I normally wouldn't. And even though I do offer you these guys as these plays as educational opportunities, I do suspect that many of you are investing real capital into them, which I hope is not the case. But if you do, I don't want to give you like risky shit to play, as inexperienced traders, right? And so that's made me take a lot of things off the table that I otherwise would have talked about. Heard a dip is on the menu. Is there any significance to the meme stocks running sequentially this cycle instead of concurrently? Example, this time cost move followed by AMC, then GME. Maybe. This is their best chance to shake people before end of November. Yeah, I agree. How do you determine GEX? It's an estimation, because I don't have access to the actual market data, like the exchange data that would give me insight into the market maker's gamma exposure for the coming week. You can pay for that, but it's extremely expensive. But my estimates have been pretty spot on. I'm able to, like, based on OI and closing price and things like that, I can make a rough estimate of how much exposure they have, and that rough estimate's good enough, because it's a long-term play, and like intraday movement's not very relevant, or at least not for mine or anybody invested in it currently's positions, right? Because we're just waiting for a short squeeze. So the gamma's exposure is only relevant as it pertains to that. We're not trying to trade like $5 intraday movements. Have you thought about asking somebody more knowledgeable about all this? Like how kicking the can in ways you haven't thought of. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to one of my old professors who is an MFE, and he had PhD in like market dynamics or something like that. And honestly, most people that are professional in the marketplace or have academic involvement with the markets, don't have that broad of a range of knowledge. I think you'll find that there's so many aspects of this which just really are different professions that we're looking at, that it's really hard to reach out to somebody because they can only really weigh in on that aspect which they know a lot about. Can you talk about how to do the leap on GME for slow people like me? Just buy options with lots of time, not that far out of the money. They're pretty much guaranteed to be profitable. Did you already discuss what happened last week and if it still confirms futures theory? I think it does, right? Because it showed us A, that they did some significant covering on the 21st, and that B, they started shorting immediately after they'd covered. So we saw all the expected action play out, but I don't know what that means for the 26th yet until it happens, right? What are your favorite ways to go long volatility? I generally don't. You could do like iron condors. That's probably a good way to do it. Use a pickle token on crypto exchanges. I nearly bought some. Yeah, I've heard about it. It was like, I think like a failed attempt to create some sort of altcoin. This isn't a gambling stream. No. Could you just rate it as extremely risky and still talk about it? I like a little excitement. This is a casino after all. I suppose. I don't know. Technically, like, whatever you guys decide to do with the stocks I'm looking at, it's ultimately up to you, right? So I could just post all of them, but I don't like the idea of posting ones that I think may turn out shitty or have a lot of downside risk. Later, Nedog. We're not noobs here. There's a professional community with intensive training and knowledge, more than your usual traders. Yeah, but people are still buying like 250 weeklies on GameStop. So I want to agree with that, but then that happens. And then people on Friday are like, hey, what should I do with these 250 weeklies that expired today? Should I roll them? And then that whole statement goes out the window. Should we do something about the misinformation practices on Superstock or just let it be and not engage? I mean, I feel like I already do. I think that's a large part of what I do already is kind of talk about why the latest hype thing is a nothing burger and it doesn't mean anything. And then everyone gets mad at me. And then 2 weeks later, I'm right, but they're still mad at me. There are some smart people in the country club. I've been watching. I pay attention. Most won't happen overnight, right? It'll be drawn out for ages and over different stages. Not necessarily. It's a short squeeze. It could happen out of the blue any day. The potential remains there, right? Even in times when we think it's not. I thought this is where all the Wall Street bets tryhards went. I feel like practical application of trading, like Dillionaires is a far better example of that than Wall Street bets. A, because it's smaller. B, it's more personal. Don't shame me. I bought 190 wikis and felt pretty risky about it. But there are good plays on like zero DTEs and things like that. It's just their Wall Street bets generally doesn't make those. What's up, Rob? Do you have a Moas song ready or a nice chant? What happens when you click the Moas button and there are things that keep me up at night? I don't have a Moas song ready or a nice chant. I don't know what happens when I click the Moas button next. You're just pumping our ego. Good. Ego is a good thing to have as a trader. You can't be unsure, right? You need to be confident. Confidence is important when it comes to taking risk. Because otherwise you'll be too afraid to take risk. And then, if you don't have enough confidence in your thesis, then you'll either leave money on the table or miss out on opportunities. Thoughts on Loopring coin maybe taking off with Q4 announcement of Jumi in them? I know speculation, etc. No thoughts. Don't care really about any crypto involvement with GameStop. I think more than enough crypto focused companies have come and gone that it's just really not relevant. An NFT thing for their forward, like an NFT marketplace involving gaming for their forward-looking prospectus is great. I don't think that's going to be a bigger money maker than e-commerce. It could be, but it'll take a lot of time to develop, and it'll happen over probably several years. And they will have competition. When's Q3 earnings for GME? Probably around the roll date for futures. They haven't announced it yet, but it generally occurs on or the day before the roll. If Ivy drops low enough and we can expect them to try to kick the can down maybe a bit past January, would 2023s be safer for long term given low enough IV? Sure, you just have to be willing to get out of them, right? I think the biggest problem with people buying long term options on GameStop is they're afraid to sell them too cheap. But you can't be, right? Because you do have to realize that not all movements on GameStop are going to necessarily be MOAS. So you want to get out when they're profitable and get back in when it's cheap. And you have to, trade them like you would anything else. I think that's why we didn't rip no MOAS button. Well, maybe. No amount of FUD or logic have tempered that one little bit. Awesome, Ausnadian. Life savings plus debt and Jimmy, pretty confident. Yeah, I mean, almost everything I've made as a trader, I put into GameStop, and then a little more. So I feel you. December 7th or 9th? Hold on. I think I have it on here. Yeah, it'll be somewhere between the 7th and the 9th. 7th, 8th, or 9th of December will be earnings. I'm excited for some good news from the company, maybe help increase the volume. How? That's my issue, is where are they going to get the volume from? If the float's owned and shorted over 200%, the only place that volume can be generated is synthetically in ETFs and by market makers. And then with the parts of a portion of the float being registered, that makes it even harder, right? What's up, oh there? Can we call T plus 2 3 after third Friday of the month before roll and expiry? Just Freg's Day for brevity. Big, green, awesome, ill-defined equals Freg's Day. We could, but it's just going to confuse people. Especially new people, so no. Then I got to make a video about what Freg's Day actually is. It's just, I'd rather take the extra second to explain it every time. You can if you want to amongst each other, but do you plan to buy weeklies? I buy weeklies almost every week on GameStop in some way or another. I either sell cash secure puts or I buy weeklies, or, you know, credit put spreads. Like, what do you think about CS? What do you mean? Like, what do I think about share registry? Elena? It's 200%. Well, hold on. Let me address this first. So, I think share registry has a net benefit on rolling FTDs. I think it's going to be very hard for us to get enough shares registered to affect like a short squeeze from it, from like a share recall from the lenders, or them breaking open the obligations warehouse. That could happen over enough time, but it's going to take a while. And I have an issue with not being able to sell my shares quickly from CS. So while I think it has a net benefit for MOAS and increases MOAS's potential, I am worried about not being able to sell my shares out of CS during a high volatility event. It's 200% SI a conservative estimate. What do you think it could be on the high end? 600? It could be higher. Yeah, that's a super conservative estimate. That's the most conservative estimate I'm willing to give. But yeah, I think there could be it could be much higher. But that deals with like things like ETF creation baskets and stuff, which we really just even have less knowledge of, right? Like, we know XRT is like 300% sold short, but we don't know how much of that 300% is GameStop. If the market crashes, when will you be exiting your REIT positions? Never. I will just hold them straight through because REITs hedge against inflation. So the loss in market value, even though it probably won't be significant, the loss in market value is more than made up for by the hedge against inflation. I also have money in private REITs, which invest at a higher rate. Most of which are, I think, holding off right now. So they're not currently investing. Like, they're taking profits and putting them aside, but they're not investing them until after the crash. And then I have another private REIT that's investing heavily right now. So those kind of hedge each other in a way. You think they slammed the price this week due to messing with retail psychology to get below the long-term trend line? No, I don't think so. And we didn't go below the long-term. I mean, like, if you're talking about, like, the daily trend, we've gone below that a bunch. That breaks down generally anytime they slam the stock. So, like this, it was adjusted several times. It was adjusted here, 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 here. So this isn't the first time that they've pushed us below the long-term trend. What they really haven't pushed us below is like the EMA 160. And they've definitely never pushed us below the EMA 180. So I consider this to be our support and this to be the hard support. Oh, sorry. There we go. Now you can see it better. Do you post those plays in Pickles Picks? Yes, I do. I'm just dropping in to say thanks. Thanks, Multi Blues, for being around forever, man. I appreciate it. Are we thinking this may drag out past June? Maybe. I don't think so. I have really high confidence in January. Like, I'm far more bullish on January than I've been on anything thus far. It looks really promising. As long as, you know, we maintain the EMA and continue to bounce, kind of chop out through the 24th of November, which is actually right here. I think that we could, here, hold on, let me mark that on here. I think that we could see significant in price improvement on this date. And then even if they roll the futures contract, meaning that we would be pushed out till March, like, the price improvement would be so drastic, right? Both times they've rolled, we've hit 300. And if they don't roll, then that puts a ton of pressure on January because there's no share offering and no ETF rebalances between now and then. And back to you, Board Gamer. They may have slammed the price in order to cover on Tuesday. Maybe they knew they had this window where they could clear the FTDs and get the price down before they have to cover Tuesday, and so they did that. I said, I know within reason that they are locked into these cycles and these anomalies one way or another, right? I think our movement on the 13th and the 21st confirmed that. The question really is what can they do within those windows to manipulate price action? Not that, I don't think the question really is any longer if those windows exist. I think the movement on the 13th and the 21st was enough to confirm a third iteration of this anomaly. And that looks really good moving forward, right? Like, we may not have seen the price action we wanted to. FTDs were obviously way lower than they were in previous cycles. And yet, it still kind of played out similarly. What would be your guess on how many shares are registered? I don't know, maybe 1 million. That's a notional value. That's a lot, right? That's a lot of fucking money. Are you thinking this may drag out past June 2022? Volume activity on ETFs appears in the volume for the tickers they contain, as if they shorted the SOL out of an ETF with GME. Would that show a big drop with zero volume? No. So what they would do is they would get a creation basket containing GameStop trashed in, and then they would use those shares to short GameStop. And then, have to deliver those shares back to the ETF within the time frame. So we would see the volume occur on GameStop. I don't think we'd see price fluctuation with no volume. I think they're doing everything they can to lower the floor and shareholders to survive the next roll date, fail the roll date. That's possible. I mean, yeah, they will use market psychology to their advantage, but I think at this point they have to know that the psychology of dropping the price is not effective. And if anything, it encourages more people to buy in, right? Honestly, I think their best bet for freeing up liquidity is to drive the price up. Because I think people are more likely to sell at a higher price than they are at a lower price. People don't like to take losses. And that's generally what leaves bag holders, right? So the psychology to the downside, not super beneficial for them, especially given retail sentiment towards the stock. How can we be certain if they have rolled or not? Volume within that window. So when they roll, which we can look at back here, we trade a significant amount of volume between the ETF fail and the rollover date, right? Significant long volume. Immediately upon rolling, they short, right? Same thing back here. Tons of volume going into the roll, immediately upon rolling, shorting, right? This time they shorted a little, right? But not nearly enough volume occurred. Within this window, I think we had less than like 20 million volume versus, 190 here. So we can tell by volume how much, if they failed or rolled. I'm sure there's human involvement, Bear Power. Generally, most algos just execute a given set of commands in the market, right? Like, they're still managed and controlled by traders and individuals because they don't want algos just running wild and losing them shitloads of money. Even if you're like an algo trader, you need to be very on top of the algos that you're running in the market at the time. They're not just like set it and forget it type things, and especially not on a stock like GameStop. I'm sure they have at least a team or more of people constantly adjusting and making changes. Since futures are annual, semi-annual, and quarterly, and they stuffed a bunch from last January, would it be correct to assume they'd be harder to roll, presumably larger amounts? Odds are it'll fail. I think it's going to fail. I also think the longs are to some degree aware of this because you can see as when the gamma ramp started getting erected, they drove the price down to dodge it. and kept the price down, right, to stay under it until after expiration. So the longs were aware enough to leave that ramp up, right? They didn't roll that forward. That was a lot of money left on the table, and it must have been done for a reason. There's got to be a strategy there, right? You don't just lose that kind of money on a gamble. No, Big Dilly, because we could just run hard in January, and then I just have to look out to March, right, for the next cycle. Eventually, one of these cycles is going to leave the price point high enough, right, that a squeeze is inevitable. It's just a question of which one. Like whether it be out here in January, right, or it be out here in March. Like say our floor becomes 300 in January. Then we know the pressure is going to be immense, double what it is now in March, right? It's compounding. And we see that over GameStop over time as our floor keeps getting higher and higher and higher, right? That upward pressure is constant. If they get a basket with a bunch of other stocks just to yoink out the GME, do they make profits on the other stocks in the basket? Yeah. They could also substitute other stocks in the basket for more GameStop. How Goes Gone Wild sounds like AI softcore movie. Is building a gamma ramp cheaper than driving the price down at this point? Yeah. If failing price goes up significantly, unless I'm mixed up, I still feel like I'm playing keep up on most of this. If failing price goes up significantly. No. What should go up are FTDs, but I think they didn't cover a lot of FTDs through this cycle because there weren't that many. So it's very possible that the longs built the gamma ramp and they didn't need to because the shorts had already covered most of their FTDs for this cycle. But going into this cycle, right, there's no share offering, there's no ETF rebalances, there's no significant institutional selling to protect them from the potential upside, right? So those FTDs are going to mount again and in greater number. So to buy far out of the money options for maybe Feb, you think it makes sense to wait until early November for more IV crash? Yeah, if nothing happens by the 28th, I expect absolutely nothing to happen going into November. Do you think hedgies are stressed? I mean, stressed in that they're losing other people's money. But, you know, as long as they can maintain profits elsewhere and manage the losing position. What's your preferred brokerage for selling CSP, IBKR? Yeah, they offer like Schwab's not bad either. Anybody that offers like high margin is good for CSP. If you're really confident in your price point. But you need a lot of leverage for CSP unless you have a shitload of money. Because they're cash secured, right? Some brokers offer as much as like 8-1. Some are more conservative at like 2-1. Who would be on the other side of the contract? Not necessarily anybody. They may not be able to find people to take the other side of that contract. They may just internalize it or sell it amongst themselves. If they're single stock futures, or variance swaps, in which the deliverable is the underlying, then they're just selling volatility, right? And they have to cover the loss to roll it. But there's a few other things it could be as well. Hey, Bubs, I know that people tell you your mic is usually too quiet, but it sounds like you're maxing out, peaking quite a bit today. I could turn it down just a notch. There. Hopefully that's better. Is there any way to know who's on the other side of the futures contracts? Not unless they traded it on a lit exchange, which I really don't expect them to do. Any other questions? Are we finishing up early today? Thanks, old school Steve. What's my favorite color? Green. Duh. Spy this week? We can look at it. What do you want now? It looks fucking great. I think it's basically back in its long-term, almost back in its long-term trend. Why does it do that? Almost back in its long-term trend. It's got to get up a bit higher, but it's rallying back. Hedgies are what? Fucked. Any truth to the rumor Freg is DFE? I hope so, because that would mean DFE has a great sense of humor. What earnings are you most hyped for? Tuesday will be whack after hours. I think I was pretty interested in AMD. Obviously, I own a lot of AMD. Logitech looks kind of interesting. I'm interested in Facebook as well. Waste management, I'm kind of interested in. Twitter, Visa, I'm pretty interested in. Maybe. Oh, Caterpillar, of course, right? Altria, I own a bunch of, so I'm pretty interested in that. I guess I think that's about it. It's a big earnings week, though. Spy double top. This could be fun. It could be, or it's not a double top. There's too much spread for it to be a double top. Double top's not like a great long-term TA indicator. It's better on the shorter scales. And you also want them within like a range of each other. Like going from a top into an inverse head and shoulders to another top is not necessarily indicative of a downtrend, right? Like that's more like um, accumulation and an indication that it's going to move into a higher value. Any thoughts on MVIS? Not really. Can the short loss be spread out all over the place in many financial instruments to different entities so it'll be offset in some way or hard to track? Yeah, I mean, I think they're trying to do that. But I think the pressure and then, the fact that other people aren't going to take on their risk makes that difficult. With leaps or long-term calls, do you look for out of the money or at the money plays? As far as GME goes, you're looking to exercise or just profit? Just profit. I have enough shares. I'm not really concerned about buying more shares of GameStop or exercising options so much as I am just making profits on them as these cycles continue. Any thoughts on MVIS and earnings on 1028? Not really. Doesn't look like they had good earnings on the 28th. Wait, oh, they have earnings on the 28th. I don't know. You might see a run into earnings. Like a pre-earnings play might not be bad. This is a good turnaround. But there's definitely a lot of room to the downside. What is the interest on this through Caterpillar for like LiDAR or something? Or not Caterpillar, Tesla? I don't know. Maybe. I'm hyped for Boeing to come around. No matter what happens to October 26th, 28th window, it appears that they cannot. The one thing they can't change is the spike on the gamma exposure from those options. What factors make trading BABA successful even though you don't believe in the company as a long-term investor? Is it just playing strong resistance supports? It's not just playing strong resistance supports. I've been playing BABA a lot lately because it has exposure to both the Chinese and US market. And since those are running together right now due to the economic situation, BABA, like if you see, you can almost get a free buy signal at 9:30 the previous day for BABA the following day, right? So if China, like Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Shenzhen are up, then the SPY is likely up as well. Those have been very intertwined as of late. And so that means BABA will move to the upside. And then BABA also has a lot of range to the upside. It's extremely low, like 52-week lows right now. So there's a lot of potential there already. It's undervalued. What factor? Facebook puts? Maybe. Are you still holding CAT? I thought you'd gotten stopped out. I still have 215s and 200s. I got stopped out of my 190s and 195s. These are for January. These are for November. Just got here. Talk about the good strike for BABA, their current trajectory and upside. If not, could you? So BABA's kind of at a support resistance here. It's 180 is significant and strong, but obviously there's a lot of room to the upside there. I would say 180 and 225 are big, like, psychological breakpoints. Obviously, like, every $10 increment is going to have some support resistance. But there's a lot of interest in BABA. So, it looks good to me for a move to 200 in the near term. Like even so much that like 180s, maybe a couple months out would be a strong play. Like if you wanted to go longer on it instead of just trade it intraday, but it moves a lot intraday, right? Which is because of all that potential upside. Any stock that's moving like $5-10 a day, you know, there's a lot of opportunity to make money off of. You heard it here first. Spy calls, maybe. So I think it's eyes on it for bears. Yeah, and there's not like at $8 a share. There's not that much downside potential unless you're shorting it. Any thoughts on zero DT action on GME Friday? This coming Friday? No. Or you mean last Friday, CJ Swiss? If Cheddar rips this evening, Baba 187.50C for this Friday. Too soon and too far out of the money. Like maybe 182.50s for this coming Friday. If you're buying options for the next Friday out, you need that movement to happen Monday or Tuesday, right? Because otherwise theta is just going to eat the end of your option up. Like, really, you'd want to get like 182.50s for like a month out. Like, the upfront cost is higher, but your potential for earnings is way better. And your risk is far more hedged. Also, if the stock moves against you, you have more time to get out. Can you recommend me a few books for absolute beginners on the stock market? For someone who knows nothing and wants to start with the basics. The Intelligent Investor is a good one. Blueberry. If you just want to know, like, learn about like valuation and stuff. Yeah, no problem, Triple OG. I realize you're probably biased as a trader, but what are your thoughts on the importance of the average person using their time to increase their earning power versus taking time to trade? So I'm not really biased on that. I think everybody who has excess capital should be invested in the markets in some way, right? Because and not through mutual funds or 401ks or like the standard investment vehicles, like directly invested and managing positions in the market, because the potential there is much higher than you'll get from any type of savings account or mutual fund account or like something like that, right? So I think everybody should be taking advantage of like their Roth or whatever, even if they're just planning for retirement. You should be active in and understand the markets, because I mean, like, even if you just buy the SPY, right, that's 8% a year over year average, which beats any 401k or savings account. AMC gonna have their earnings around November 1st. Do you condone side bet? I don't condone anything. I'm not a financial advisor, Cool Daddy. About GME and my Roth? Too broke for that. Then then there's a possibility that, like, okay, so if you can't afford options, don't play them. If you can't afford more risk adverse options, and you're just gambling with money that you shouldn't really be able to afford to gamble with either, right? I bought GME and my everything. Technical analysis of the financial markets. Yeah, that's more for trading though, ABN. Don't tell me not to gamble. I like having a hobby. I'm not telling you not to gamble, but I'm saying if you can't afford longer dated, safer options, then that also means you definitely cannot afford to gamble. Gambling is a privilege left to those that have a lot of money, right? Safe earnings, like building an amount of liquidity or capital with which to gamble, requires being risk adverse. I find both helpful. Okay. I mean, they are the ones I recommend. So, I work long hours, so I'll have to do audiobooks. What are some investments for someone who works with patients most of the day and doesn't have time to check tickers? Are options not worth it? That's not necessarily true. You can buy options as a way to purchase leveraged stock, right? But you have to set up fail safes. So, like, if something's volatile, right, or near term, then you need to be on top of it. If you've bought longer term options, and you can check at the end of the day and see how your stock's doing, you just have more leverage on it, right? You can set limit orders, so if you're not watching it and it hits a certain amount that you're willing to take profits at, the order automatically fills. Like, you don't have to be an active trader to participate in trades, right? Jimmy cycle completed as a member. Thank you so much, Pat. I appreciate it. I think I have found a place, as a matter of fact. What are your thoughts on vertical spreads? I was trying to learn about them. I don't use them too often. Um, I don't know. I'll probably do some videos after I. So after I move, as you guys know, I want to do like a bunch more videos on things like technical indicators and um like things on technical indicators, and also like option strategies, different investment strategies that I could talk about. Like, but I need time to like write those up and how I want to present them. And so that's going to take a little bit of time. And also I need an environment in which that's possible, which is really not where I currently live. Do you need help moving? I drive a pickup. Don't you live on like the West Coast, Trash Dan? Or does that not matter? I'm excited too, because there's like a lot of questions that I get asked, and I want to refer people to other people's videos because it'd be easier on me. And I know those videos have been done, but I also don't want to refer the people that watch me to those people because I don't like or trust them, or I think, they're con artists. Like, even though their information in their video might be correct, right? Like, me recommending them lends trust to what I think is not a trustworthy endeavor. So I would prefer to be able to refer people to my own videos and be like, oh, that thing I cover here. And a lot of those videos, if you actually watch them with some knowledge, you'll realize that they leave out particulars that they then try to sell you in like a premium program, and things like that. Do you think the Citadel lawsuit will have any bearing on GME? The one versus the SEC? Unlikely. It's really not about GameStop. Probably not Seacraft. I'm sure someone from Philly would come help. Says, I'm not moving to Philly. Could you put those indicator videos in their own area where we can refer to them easily? Yes. That would be the idea. I would create a playlist for them where they could all be referenced and ordered. The question is where to start. That's hard. I would start with TA and then later on do videos about options and option strategies. Maybe I would cover like the basics of options and like the Greeks, like the super basic things, but any opinions, advice on methods to select and evaluate REITs to invest in? I just bought O because it's trustworthy and their reinvestment rate is good and they've been around forever. You have to research them. You have to. I think exchange traded REITs are required to give 90% of their profits back to investors. So that actually gives them very little growth potential because they can only reinvest 10% of their profits, right? But after fees or before fees. So like private REITs tend to be better, but you don't have that, market guarantee that you have with exchange traded REITs. So riskier on some fronts, better on growth potential. You can look into whether they loan money or they own properties. That's another thing. Like some use that as like hard cash loans towards real estate, speculators. The other ones actually buy the properties, and they're held. Those properties are held in the trust. If I become a pontiff of VWAP, can I have your hat? If you become the first one, Multi-Bliss, yes. I'm not afraid to risk, and I have capital to use. I have a lot to learn, and a lot of this is still confusing to me. I think of more books. Please let me know. I will. I'll curate a list of books at some point for everybody. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. I've had so much shit going on that it's been hard to even just do this every day has been a strain. I've confronted Macors on his stream. I'm now banned from it. No, you can't get assigned playing any option. Only if you sell to open. Then you can get assigned. Like if you're talking about covered calls, you can get, it's not actually called assignment. You can get your shares called away. If the owner of the contract exercises at a price above the strike price, your shares will sell at the strike you sold the option at. For CSPs, if the price is below where you sold your strike, you then have to buy the shares at the strike. But you can dodge it. You don't always get assigned. You can get, like, honestly, just lucky. Like, I got kind of lucky the other day. I let them slip a little further than I normally would have before I bought back in. But I was just trying to maximize profits. Also, I had the cash on hand that if I had to buy the shares, I could just, like, own more GameStop. What's your play for the 1124 run up after getting burned by weeklies last week? Now I'm going to buy far near the money calls instead of cheap weeklies. I'm still going to play weeklies, but I've bought far out in the monies or near the money calls. So I have calls currently in November, which I'll be getting rid of after this week. I have some calls in December. I have calls in January. I will be looking to buy calls for February, and maybe April. But when the week arrives, like the day before, I will buy weeklies. I believe the 24th is on a Wednesday, so I will buy them on Monday of that week. Or Friday of the week before. Playing standard level to one options, buying to open only. Yeah. Someone paid to dislike it. There's one person who's a member who doesn't like my streams. Oh yeah, and Securities Analysis by Graham and Dodd is also a great book. Thank you, A user. That's for you, Blueberry, in case you were wondering. What else do I have to do today? I have to still write the DD. I haven't written anything for the DD yet. Oh, I should have started it yesterday, but I felt particularly lazy. I will say, I wish I didn't have to do the weekly DDs, but I feel they're necessary. They are very time consuming. And then no one reads them anyway, so I might as well just answer the questions live. I know you guys do. I'm just fucking around. But all right. Do we have any other questions, or am I going to wrap this one up early? Weekly DD have more scope to be wrong too. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, but the daily DDs really just are kind of nothing right now because I can't do TA on the intraday for GameStop, so I can like track odd things that happen. But I feel like the weekly DD is where the majority of the information that I'm putting out throughout the week is. I really like your weekly DDs. I think it's great for folks who might be on Reddit but not come to your YouTube stream. Yeah, I know. It's just the time split is hard, right? And then I mean I knew as time went on it would be harder, and I've managed to do both this whole time, but it's difficult some weeks. This week it will be. I have a lease signing today, possibly, or a lease negotiation today, and then I also have to write the DD and do tonight's stream. I just heard the Secure's third wife was arrested for securities fraud. If the EMAs are pretty much consolidated at a higher price, would that be super hard for them to push us back under? I mean, that the EMA really just tracks previous price movement, right? It has nothing to do with what they're going to do tomorrow or the next day. It just shows that there is a significant amount of long side buy pressure at that level, and it is hard for them to dip below that buy pressure. I'm seeing a 6th edition in 2008. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't matter what edition you read. I think when they gave it to us in school, it was like the second one. So just make sure it's unabridged. Angel Fire, thank you. I appreciate it, man. Are you gonna add some pickles picture this week? I am tonight. I have a few. So thanks, Other. I know you guys do. It's just I feel like it's just hard to get it all done some weeks, that's all. And today I'm definitely staring down the barrel of a very difficult several hours. Between Freg's Day and Open, they bought in February and May to satisfy a share obligation from a future on a scale of wind moon to metaphysical certainty. How wrong am I? No, they did. Yeah. The February March window, they rolled Cat Doc. It was February and March, though, I think. Right? Or it was just all in March? I believe it was just all in March. Yeah. Feb March, yeah. So they'd rolled by 311 and were then, then dumped the price. But I think they had so many FTDs then that we still see the anomaly play out, right? And this was with a share offering. So the pressure was actually so, like the FTD pressure was so great then that we still saw movement from the anomaly cycle as well, from those fails. So even though they were able to roll, there was still failure. But it's less confirmable. Thanks, Visceral. If Facebook changes their name, can they change their ticker? Yeah. They have to, like, submit a thing to do it. I think the weekly DDs are especially useful. Maybe you can get a part-time assistant or a volunteer. Maybe. Get gone, do your stuff. I will. I get it done every week. Don't worry about me. Yeah, the negotiations are going to be interesting based on the information I have so far. Late to stream. Do you ever factor in X clearing trades broker to hide positions? I think they have a big impact. I don't, because eventually they settle. So that's why I don't focus on the intraday so much with GameStop, right? Like, we stream it and watch it and identify fuckery as it occurs, but over time, a lot of those things can be overlooked as they eventually that will be moved to a lit exchange, right? Postmass, which pigeon wells will go full Harkonnen weird? I don't know. Maybe a few of them. That's awesome. Not an advisor. Fregulon. Oh, I didn't get to watch Dune. Yeah. So I sat down to watch it, and then I had to go deal with other shit. I was pissed. I still am. I'd rather watch Dune than write the weekly DD today, but such as it is. Facebook changes their ticker. That means anyone who's short will have to cover everything. Can you expect price increase because of that? I don't think that is the case. Like, if you own options like leaps on Facebook and they change their ticker, it just changes the ticker. Your like contracts don't have to be settled. Thoughts on Sir David Attenborough? He's amazing and a treasure. Should knock off early and take care of your own needs. I will. Don't worry. I'm not shy. I'm not gonna not get something done because I have to. Or I don't know if that made sense. I'm not going to put something off that I need to do in order to do this other stuff. Why would I want? I have. Liverpool's gonna win. I don't know who's better. You tell me, Multi-Blues. Gherkin, Idaho. I do too, but I do think there is a chance for a run up on Tuesday due to gamma exposure. I'll probably buy some options Tuesday morning and sell them by Tuesday close. Or Monday morning and sell by Tuesday close for my weeklies. Unless they go significantly in the money. And in which case I'll hold out through the 28th. Hit that like. It's irrelevant. It's a members only stream. I don't care if you guys hit the like or not. Have I ever made my own sausages before? No, not cased them, but I've made sausage. Or like seasoned ground pork. They played already. Liverpool won 5-0. Haha! I picked the right one. Wait, did England win the World Cup? Did I win that one too, or no? I don't remember. Or whatever it was. The Euro Cup or some shit. There's some ball thing you guys were doing. For your remaining 11/19s, are you going to wait for the 26th or 28th to see if it moves? I'm going to wait for the 26th. If there's no significant movement on the 26th, then I'm done with the rest of the cycle. I'm going to sell them. I will close all non-in-the-money GME contracts that I have open Tuesday, unless there's significant movement. By the end of day Tuesday. Oh, AMD Visceral. Those are the big ones. Do you have any secrets to seasoning? For cast iron? Just canola oil. Get a really thin layer on it. Throw it in the oven at 300 and upside down for like 2 hours. Take it out, wipe it, do it again. Upside down, though. Cooking surface facing the bottom of the oven. And put something there to catch the oil. And what that'll do is give you a really thin layer of those like polymers that it creates. For carbon steel pans, I usually put like a ton of salt and potato peels in it and just fry it until I have like a good seasoning on it. I don't use flaxseed. Flaxseed breaks. Like flaxseed and grapeseed oil always chip for me. They give you a better like surface release, but they chip. Cooking stream soon. One day. All right, I am gonna take off because I've got to respond to this stuff. And so I guess we'll cut today short. Everyone seems to be pretty filled in on market things and GameStop stuff for this week. So yeah, normally we'd go about 20 minutes longer. For those of you that this is your first time, I'm sorry. I'll be done moving soon, and maybe weekend streams will be even longer. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. It's super appreciated. I'll see you all bright and early tomorrow morning. Keep your eyes peeled for the DD tonight. And, yep, I'll see you at Market Open. Not an advisor. Frigulon.